All right. Glad to have you with me for workshop 3 on how to conduct a focus group. Here we're going to be learning strategies on how to plan it, how to structure it, and how to execute it and analyze it when you get finished with it. So we're going to go ahead and hop right in it. I'm Reverend Carissa Rogers. I am your facilitator for today's instruction. And we're going to hop right in. So what is a focus group? Focus groups are essentially a group discussion that's a qualitative approach that is used to gain an in-depth understanding of different social issues. So the method aims to obtain data from a purposely selected group of individuals, rather than a statistical representative sample of a broad population. Like these people usually have some level of relationship to the topic. And so those are we're going to get into your target audience eventually. But what a focus group is not a debate. It's not group therapy. It's not a conflict resolution session. Not a problem solving session, not an opportunity to collaborate, not a promo opportunity. It is not an educational session. It is a means of being able to collect data and information. So before you host a focus group, there are a few things that you need to get in order. Just planning wise, right? Because when we say that it's a specific group of people, a focus group is usually a small group of about 6 to 10 people that are led through an open discussion by a moderator that has been skilled in moderating, right? Basically leading the conversation. This is so that the group is large enough to be able to have a rich discussion, but not so large that participants end up getting left out and unheard. The questions are generally predetermined. 10 is about the max. But the discussion is essentially free-flowing, and participants ideally get to comment and share as they are influenced and stimulated in the environment while other people are talking. And so sometimes people start with one idea when they begin the focus group, and by the time it ends, they have a different idea on the subject. But the group of people who come together are generally strangers. They're not people who know each other. And there's some level of intentionality is what I think is what I want to call it. Even though they're strangers, there is still some intentionality when the focus groups are being put together. And so, as you are preliminarily planning to do your focus group, you want to make sure that you know what topic you want to discuss with people, that you have your goals of that discussion written down, that you choose your questions wisely and make a questionnaire, mind you, because you got 10 max, that you recruit and you schedule your participants based on what it is the topic and the goals are, that you got good demographics, and that you got consent forms from your participants, right? Consent is a very important thing, and making sure that people know what they are signing up for and what they are agreeing to, because they are sharing of themselves. This is data, but it is still their personal opinions and or reality and experiences that they're sharing with you, right? So when you get ready to choose your topic and your goals, the main purpose of a focus group is to draw upon the attitudes and the feelings, beliefs, experiences, and reactions of the participants in a way where other methods are not applicable, right? So if you don't actually talk to the people, you're not actually going to get a legitimate answer. And focus groups provide a way to be able to collect that data. And so it also allows the researcher to gather more information in a shorter period of time, generally no more than 2 hours. And so it's considered very effective because, again, it does get you firsthand accounts and information that can lead you into more data. And so the importance of the message, right? How we are making sure that we are getting our questions together, figuring things out. What social issue do you want to collect data around? Like, just starting there. And what specific data do you want to know in relationship to these social issues. How many people would you like to survey in order to be able to get a clear answer about it? And what questions do you need to ask that will give you a clear answer to the information that you are seeking to find out? And so when you ask these questions, this gives you a framework by which you are building your focus group around. And, the questions shouldn't be, real long, drawn out, difficult questions. They should be short and to the point, focused on one dimension each, unambiguously worded, meaning that it shouldn't sound like a mystery or a bunch of confusion. It should be very clear and concise. It shouldn't be any confusion about what's being asked. You can do open-ended or you can do sentence completion types of questions, but they should be non-threatening and non-embarrassing and worded in a way that they can't be answered with a simple yes or no. Right? Like, you want people to be able to have a discussion. So you want to use why and how instead of what or when or where. The closed-ended questions. And there are 3 different types of questions that you can ask that will help facilitate that. And the first is engagement questions. Now, engagement questions are ones that help introduce the participants to each other and help them get comfortable with the topic. You also have exploration questions, which get to the meat of the discussion. They're talking about whatever that topic is for the night. And then you got your exit question, which checks to see if anything was missed during the exploration when you were getting to the meat of anything. It's almost like a recap question. And we've got some examples that are coming up that can kind of give us some insight, right? So a good engagement question that helps open people up and get them acquainted with the topic. If you were doing a focus group on dental flossing, what's your favorite toothpaste? What do you notice when you look at other people's teeth? Those are engagement questions. Just, lighthearted, open, kind of like small talk. Exploration questions. Who in particular has influenced your dental habits? Right? So now we're asking about history, influence, motivation. What are the pros and cons of flossing your teeth? Where are you of these type of things? When you floss, how do you follow through? When you don't, why don't you? Are you consistent? How often do you floss? Like, right now we're collecting this type of data. How do you feel about yourself when you floss regularly? Right? Impacts, effects. And then exit question might be, is there anything else that you would like to share about why you do or do not floss your teeth on a regular basis? Because you want people who do both. That way you got a good test sample. And that's an example of a questionnaire, right? Because 10 questions is max. That was 8 questions, right? We want to get done in a 2-hour period. That is enough dialogue, enough openness to be able to have some dialogue that can be fruitful and productive. And so as you get ready to actually dive in to your actual focus group, you got to get ready to recruit and secure your participants. Right? And a large part of that is knowing who you want to participate. Who is your target audience? Who am I talking to? If I want to talk to people about flossing and dental floss, I need to find people who do floss. I need to find people who don't. You gotta be able to do both. And so the question of who is my target audience, because an ideal focus group would have all participants that are comfortable with each other who none of them know each other. And so the question becomes, how do you facilitate that? And so when you are making selections, there are some key factors around diversity that should be considered. Gender, how will men and women feel when discussing a topic in the mixed gender group, depending on what the discussion is. Age, how intimidating would it be for a young person to be included with a group of older adults or vice versa? What are the power dynamics that are in the room? Would a teacher be likely to make candid remarks in a group where his or her principal was a participant? Like, would that be the best focus group setup? Are there any cliques that we need to be concerned about? Like, how influential might 3 cheerleaders be in a group of high school peers? And inclusion and exclusion criteria should also be established up front, based on the purpose of the study. Again, this goes back to your goals, and your questions. You can use that as a criteria, or basis to be able to screen all your potential applicants. But in order to have applicants, you got to be able to also have a way to secure them, right? So, like, what do your recruitment strategies look like? And there are a few different ones that are available. But, you can have folk that are nominated. You can do a random selection process. You can have all members from the same group who participate, or all people who got the same job title or same job role. You can do an open invitation or open call. But always over invite, right? Because you're gonna have some people who say, "Oh, I want to do that," and then they don't show up. Okay, so when you know that is a reality that people do often, then you just want to make sure that you have enough people lined up to where you can still make sure that your numbers showcase the data that you wanted to be able to collect and capture. And so, before you get started, it's a few things that you definitely want to do. Just to make sure that you got what you need to make everything flow right? So logistics is a thing. What time are we going to do it? Where are we going to do it at? Who all is going to help us get it together and run it on the day that it has to happen, right? And if we get people to show up, how do we ensure that they show up? Are there any incentives that we can offer? And incentives go a long way when you're talking focus groups. In fact, in 2006, I think the average monetary incentive for people in focus groups was like $50, right? 2006 was like 15 years ago. So just want to say that. But yeah, once you have recruited them and you have established that yes, they're going to come, whether you're giving them an incentive or not. But I will say you got different incentive options that you can give, right? So if you have adults, an incentive could be childcare or transportation fee or gas, along with or an honorarium. An honorarium ain't nothing but a check, y'all. It's it's when they write you a check for participating. And so yeah. Once you've got your people established, you got to confirm availability and make sure that they are going to be able to participate and that they know what they are coming to participate for. And so you want to go ahead and get that started. You want to make sure you've got good moderators, okay? Good moderators can take you a long way. And ideally, the focus group is conducted by a team that consists of not only a moderator, but an assistant one as well. And what the moderator does is facilitate the discussion. And then the assistant takes the notes and they run the tape recorder, right? So one can run the meeting and the other can record what's happening in the meeting. And a good moderator is a good listener. They can be attentive and sensitive and have empathy to people's feelings and emotions. They can listen and talk at the same time. They find people valuable and think that all people have something to offer. They have some level of knowledge about whatever is being discussed, and they can keep their personal views and ego out of the facilitation that they're doing. And yeah, they have the authority to be able to keep order within the group. Now, the assistant moderator should be able to also run the tape recorder during the session, as well as to take notes in the event that it fails. To also be able to note and record body language and other subtle but relevant cues of people who are in the room who may be communicating non-verbally. But to provide space for the moderator to be the one who does the speaking. Now, both of them are expected to welcome the people when they get there, offer food or something to drink, name tags, things that help, again, raise the comfort level of the participants. And to, make sure they got consent forms turned in. Because if people don't have consent forms turned in, you will not likely be able to use that data. And so once you've got the moderators there, introductions are important. You want people to be able to introduce themselves. And so an icebreaker is good to start. It's really lighthearted. Everybody can share and, participate and get on one accord. And it doesn't have to be heavy. It can be like, man, if you had a limitless budget, where would you go on vacation? If you had $1 billion, what would you do with it? Little things. Maybe $1 billion ain't a little thing, but I'm just saying, like, lighthearted conversation. Like, it doesn't have to be like really heavy early, but you want people to grow comfortable enough sharing, that when it's time to share, that they're still comfortable. And so another part of that is making sure that there are ground rules in place to help ensure everybody's comfort in the space. And just a few of those look like: we want you to do the talking, as an open ask for others, the participants in the room, to do the participating instead of expecting the moderators to either always model or start or lead the like to be actively keeping the conversation rolling. There are no right or wrong answers is another one, because every person's experiences and opinions are different and important and valid. Whether everybody agrees or not is irrelevant. The Vegas rule: what gets said here stays here, so that folks feel comfortable when it's time again. And then we will be tape recording the group. That way we can capture everything that you have to say, and we don't identify anyone by name in our report. So, you can remain anonymous. There are several different ways that can be set up. But you definitely want to make people feel comfortable so that when you ask your questions, you get good data to capture. Now, when you get ready to ask your questions, the moderator has a responsibility to cover all the questions as possible within the amount of time that's given. And to try to get all participants to make sure that they share and fully. And make sure that they stay on schedule with time, because ending in a reasonable amount of time is important as well. Just because it's rough sometimes. Sometimes people start talking and they really like to talk and they don't want to leave. They don't want to end the conversation or any of that. And so it's important for the moderator to be able to keep all of those things flowing and going. And so when the focus group is complete, while everything is still on, right? While the tape recorder is still running, while the assistant moderator is still there, and the moderator is still there, debrief everything that happened in the focus group at that time, while everything is fresh on your mind, while your memory is still beaming with the experience radiating from you and on you. Do the debrief immediately and then capture it on the recording. Let your assistant moderator do the notes. That way you have the fullest version of that when you sit down to do your analysis. Right? So one of the things that you also want to include in there is when the moderator, and your debrief, when the moderator witnessed influence in the room, power. Of course, they are required to always remain neutral and are not able to nod or raise eyebrows, agree or disagree, but they do have the privilege of being able to see the room in ways that allow them to capture that data that can be useful sometimes, again, in just being able to name nonverbal communication. Now, once you've finished asking all the questions, you want to move towards analyzing the data, right? And that's just boiling the information down to a systematic and verifiable process. You want to compile the data, analyze it, and synthesize it. And so compiling the data is as simple as making a spreadsheet. And there are very specific ways to do that. But you want to compile the spreadsheet. You want to take the answers that have been given in the questionnaire asking portion, and you want to be able to catalog that within the spreadsheet. And then when you get done, you want to take that and you want to analyze it and look through it, and then you want to synthesize it and get a clearer read on what the numbers are. And so the process is pretty definitive, but once you've gone through it, and the findings are organized and synthesized, then they're ready to be presented. And you can package them in a formal report that includes like an executive summary, background, the methods, the major findings, the conclusions and recommendations, or they can be presented in a PowerPoint, right? And I say PowerPoint thinking about the spreadsheet that you've used in order to put it together and compile it. But there's always more than one way to do anything. And so once you have done those last few parts of the process, you are done. And you can replicate this as many times as you have data and information that you need to collect. So I hope this was helpful on how to run a focus group. It has been my pleasure to have you here with me, and I appreciate you for listening. See y'all next time.